It's the World Cup of World Cups, Episode 13, Part 2, Mexico 86, The Knockouts.
Oh, that is just sickening. I just wish he'd just been more triumphant and just gone,
Oh, does he want to take the penalty? Oh, that's fine then, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine, just let him.
They're so painful, they burst out like cartoon wolves in Tex Avery thing. Just,
The samba shitheads of Brazil were stuffed out of existence. Take that, you yellow gits.
If I was Brazilian, my nickname would be Eddie Large.
he was the inside man just walking out really pointy, and everyone was like, "You're right." He was like, "Yeah, fine."
Why are you wearing a wizard's hat today?
And now the round of 16. It is the first round of 16, although technically there was one in 1934 when the whole World Cup was a knockout. The second round of 16, which I love. I love the round of 16. In the first game, Mexico beat Bulgaria 2-0. The first and only time Mexico have won a knockout game at a World Cup. Manuel Negrete scores an amazing goal.
Aguirre, Negrete! Magnificent!
That in any other World Cup would be the goal of the tournament. And then in the celebration, loads of people fall over. It's ridiculous. Bulgaria are out. Their squad features Bozidar Iskranov, nicknamed Gibona, the Gibbon.
Oh, right.
He has a film career. He plays elevator technician in the 1985 comedy film Manevry na Pattaya Etage, Maneuvers on the Fifth Floor, which has an IMDb rating of 7.9.
Oh, is that our best film yet?
I think it might be.
Wow.
I've got the synopsis here of the film. 3 men work together on the 5th floor of a socialist industrial research institute. It's Bulgaria. It's 1985. Every morning, they take turns watching with binoculars the aerobics exercises of a young girl in the building across the street.
Oh dear.
7.9 IMDb. Suddenly, the routine is disturbed. There are rumours that one of them might have to be transferred to a partner institute in Japan. But who should that be? The 3 friends are now rivals and undertake sophisticated underground manoeuvres in order to get the prize. They put their friendship at stake. At the end, of course, it turns out everything has been in vain. At the very end, after the grotesque outcome, we can see the 3 friends together again with binoculars watching at the window.
Oh, what a happy ending.
Oh, they got to look
They
at...
got to be perverts.
got
Nice.
to be pervs together, yeah. Was that like by Bulgaria's version of Disney? Was it?
Oh yeah, it's an animated kids film.
Can you get from that synopsis, it said about the prize. Was the prize to go and live in Japan, or did they not want to go to Japan because they wouldn't get to whack off to gymnasium girls?
I think the prize was to go to Japan. I think they wanted to go to Japan.
Oh, see, I thought it might have been that they didn't want to go, so it was like working out which one was going to miss out on the pervy.
Yeah, if you want to miss out on perviness, go to Japan.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah.
One of us can buy used underwear in a vending machine. There's a terrific game in Lyon as Belgium play the, to this point, brilliant Soviet Union. And Belgium come from behind twice to draw 2-2, although their second equaliser looks offside to me. In extra time, Belgium go 4-2 ahead. Their 4th goal is scored by Nico Klaassen.
Tottenham legend.
Played a season or 2 for Tottenham, didn't he? And thus gets a name check in a Chaz and Dave song.
Nico Klaassen, you and the Galvin.
In the song Hot Shot Tottenham, which, in 1987, I bought.
Despite not being a Tottenham fan, you were just...
I did like that Tottenham team, though.
Yes, yeah.
Poor old Gary Mabbott.
Oh, Mabbott! It's an own goal!
Igor Belanov completes his hat-trick, but the Soviets are out. Their squad included Oleg Blokhin, who'd won the Ballon d'Or in 1975. He was the first Ukrainian to win that. He would manage Ukraine in 2006. He would be elected to the Ukraine Parliament in 1998, and his daughter, Irina Blokhina, sang the anthem of Euro 2012.
Talented family.
Poland hit the woodwork twice, but lose to Brazil 4-0. Socrates converts a penalty
and
with no run-up.
It's the first time as well that Brazil look fluid. The first goals in the group games are quite scrappy, and then Brazil just turn on the style for the 4-0.
Josimar, now in his 2nd international game, scores another amazing goal, if anything, better than the first one.
Josimar! It's an astonishing goal!
Also scoring, Edinho, who was the captain of this Brazil team, playing in his third World Cup. He would captain Brazil to a World Cup win, but it was in beach football in the 90s.
And they were pretty much the only ones who actually played that.
It was them against the Castor Baywatch. That was it. There's a rematch of a final also in the second round. Yes, a rematch of the 1930 World Cup final. It's the first time Argentina and Uruguay have met at a World Cup since then, and it is scrappy.
To say the least.
Big rivalry, isn't it?
Argentina win 1-0. The goal is scored by Pedro Pasculi, who in 2019 becomes the manager of Bangor City in the Welsh Second Division. There's some weird nicknames in the Uruguay squad, Paul, if you want to try and translate them.
Oh, yes, please.
Jorge Barrios, their captain, is nicknamed Chifle,
The Spectre.
the whistle. Jorge da Silva is nicknamed Polilla,
The Small Chicken.
the moth.
Of course, he famously couldn't play in night games, could he? Because he
Get away from the floodlights!
It's a good job they never played England in being attracted to Hoddle Moddle's Diamond Lights.
Okay.
Those diamond lights.
Sergio Santin is nicknamed Boca, the bowl.
The bowl.
What kind of nickname is that for a footballer?
So Peter Beardsley played at a World Cup where there was a player nicknamed The Bowl, and it wasn't Peter Beardsley after his amazing bowl cut haircut.
Jose Salazar was nicknamed Aloso.
No.
Come on, I know that one.
Do you?
Yeah, the bear. Wilmar Cabrera was nicknamed Toro.
The Bull.
Yeah, you got one. And Venancio Ramos was nicknamed Chichara.
Is that the flea?
cricket.
Yeah, pretty much. Cicada, yeah. France beat Italy 2-0, so the holders are out. West Germany beat Morocco 1-0 with a Lothar Matthäus daisy cutter from 30 yards with 90 seconds to go.
Oh.
Jammy West Germany. Then a game I remember being allowed to watch the first half of, England-Paraguay. Do you remember this one, Tony?
Vaguely. Obviously, I know the result. I can't really remember too much what happened to it, but maybe that's because it's all part of the Paraguayan hoax, isn't it? It didn't actually happen.
Jose Luis Chilaver's brother Rolando is playing.
I loved Chilavert because I used to play goal as a kid. I really liked the idea of being able to just go do things that weren't... I was like, yeah, and I'll come out and I'll take it around 15 players. No, you won't. You're very bad at football. That's why you're in goal.
Wait for 98, will you, with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lineker scores. He's off the pitch for a little while, and while he's off the pitch, handsome Peter Beardsley scores. And then Lineker comes back on and scores again. So again, England win 3-0. Peter Beardsley once played in goal for Newcastle. He conceded 3 in an 8-1 defeat.
He wasn't even the worst goalkeeper on that day. That's impressive.
Yeah. He was the most expensive English player when Liverpool signed him for 1.9 million in 1987. So Paraguay are out. Their squad includes Jorge Armando Núñez, nicknamed El Canitzo,
Nope.
the Ashen.
The Ashen. What had he seen? Just constantly looking.
Yeah. Jorge Guash, nicknamed El Chino.
The lovely pair of white trousers.
It means the Chinese.
Oy. I'm glad I didn't have a guess.
Oh, dear.
The other brilliant team from the first round, Denmark, then
Yeah.
play Spain in Quaratora at the Estadio Corregidora, which I think is the first World Cup stadium named after a woman. Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez, nicknamed La Corregidora, who was a heroine from the Mexican War of Independence.
Go, girl.
I don't know if there are any others in World Cup history.
I'm really surprised there's no Santa Maria, Our Lady of being, like Jesus'
maybe
mum.
The Jesus' Mum Stadium. You're saying is a thing. So Denmark take the lead against Spain through a Jesper Olsen penalty. Yeah, he played for Man U, didn't he? At least 4 Spanish players are inside the area when he takes it. Proper encroachment. Then, on the stroke of half-time, Jesper Olsen is in the right-back position. Nothing much is going on, so he just sort of crosses it into his own box. And Emilio Butragueño, the Vulture, scores his first of 4 goals that he'll score in this game. The first player to score 4 goals in a game since Eusebio 20 years before.
And Jesper Olsen puts his head in his hands, made to pay for overconfidence. Totally unnecessary ball, and Butragueño was very happy to accept the gift.
And Spain run out 5-1 winners.
Yeah, it really is a turnaround.
I remember this being a bit of a shock because the Danes are superb, aren't they?
There are 3 penalties in the game. One of them is scored by Andoni Goicoechea Spanish defender who was nicknamed the Butcher of Bilbao.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And of course, Terry Butcher was nicknamed the Goycochea of Glasgow. So
Have you ever seen that footage of Goycochea against Maradona when he was at Barcelona? It just erupts into a riot, basically.
yeah, that's the one where it's in the 1984 Copa del Rey final. He kicks Maradona in the chest.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Maradona goes absolutely mental. Surprisingly. And
I
then
would say
everyone
justifiably.
piles on the pitch. Yeah, fairly justifiably, but yeah. Fiery Latin
Yeah.
temperament.
Goycochea gets banned for 18 matches for that.
Yeah, and it's just like it starts a riot because literally everyone piles onto the pitch. There's YouTube footage of it. I'd say check it out. It's quite funny. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
died, so I think we're allowed to laugh at it.
The year before, he'd broken Maradona's ankle,
Yeah, that's right.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and Maradona was still wearing one boot bigger than the other at the 1986 World Cup because of that. The Times named him the hardest defender of all time.
we're back to Emil Mpenza, aren't we? The hardest
Yeah.
of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Because Butragueño scores 4 of the goals. The only goal he doesn't score is the penalty that Goycochea scores. And you think like, oh, does he want to take the penalty? Oh, that's fine then. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. Just let him. Just let him. Denmark are out. Their midfielder, Morten Olsen, is one of only 2 footballers to have 100 caps as a player and 100 caps as a manager of an international team. Do you know who the other one is?
Faroe Isles.
No, it is a player you will have heard of for a major nation.
I thought
Is
you
it
were
Jack
just-
Charlton?
No, it's not Jack Charlton. Jack Charlton only got about 20 caps for England.
So,
So there's another player, got 100 caps
Franz
as a player.
Beckenbauer?
No, not Beckenbauer, and then managed a nation 100 times, over 100 times.
Klinsmann?
No, I'll give you a clue. They're still the manager.
No.
Is it
Am I telling you? Am I telling you?
Dutch? Who's the Dutch manager at the moment?
Koeman. It's not him.
It is Koeman. No, it's not Koeman.
Do you want another clue?
Yeah, go on.
He won the World Cup.
So it's European, yeah?
Yeah.
Deschamps? No.
Yeah, Didier Deschamps is the right answer. Well done. Also in the Denmark
He's not
squad,
still French manager, is he?
he's been the manager for 10 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, the Danish squad also includes Kent Nielsen, who played for Aston Villa in the late 80s, Alan Simonson, who won the Ballon d'Or in 1977.
And then went to Charlton Athletic.
Because
Must be the only Ballon d'Or winner to play for Charlton Athletic, surely.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Hang on. Did Kevin Lisby win the Ballon d'Or? No, he didn't. No, you're right. And also Jan Molby,
Yeah.
Yay.
who's an official honorary Scouser.
Has that weird, lovely Scouse Danish twang that quite a lot of the Danish players get, which is just a thing of beauty. It's great.
Well, Rushy gets it down there with Mountfield, and at that time Everton looked a bit tired, and there was none of their midfield players coming back with me.
He's got a podcast called Molby on the Spot that he records from a field in rural Ireland.
What?
What more information do you need? Told you.
That was like an M. Night Shyamalan twist. Yeah, that was like, okay, I'll be on the spot. Yeah, about penalties or something from wherever he lives in Denmark nowadays, but from a field in rural Ireland.
Yeah. On the day of the 1990 FA Cup final between Manchester United and Crystal Palace, me and my family went to Alton Towers because it was my brother's birthday. And while we were there, we bumped into Jan Molby.
Nice.
And of course, he's the head of the Greeters Guild, isn't he? Jan
Yes.
Molby?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have any
Is it-
problems,
is it-
you need to speak to him.
He's in a beef with Waitrose.
Oh, I'm from a Greeters Guild. I've been employed by upper management, basically to enhance the customer experience. I'm surprised you haven't been told.
We've not, let me ask the brand manager.
It was arranged by a chap called Jan Molby.
What is going on with this podcast now? I feel like I'm into this real universe now. He's head of
Have you-
what?
The head of the Greeters Guild. Have you not seen any Troy Hawk videos?
Or something. We are the Greeters Guild. What?
You know Troy Hawk?
Yes,
You know the videos he does?
vaguely aware.
When he stands outside shops and greets
Oh, right,
people.
yeah.
When staff from the shop come and tell him to stop it, he says, no, it's all been organised. You need to speak to Jan Molby.
And Waitrose were like, we don't know who Jan Molby is. And so Jan Molby was like, I know who you are. How do you not know who I am? And Jan Molby's joining in on it and then now has real world beef with Waitrose, which is lovely.
What, on Twitter or something?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. That is fantastic.
So 2 of the best teams from the first round, Soviet Union and Denmark, are now out and not in the quarterfinals.
Maybe we should bring back the stupid secondary groups.
No.
Why did they go round of 16? Why can't they be the octo finals or something? What would be?
You've answered your own question there.
Oh, come on, octo finals sounds great.
Sounds stupid. An 8th final, it would have to be.
Yeah, that also sounds stupid.
Sounds like everyone's getting some weed. Hey, have you ever played a board game? You have? Then you'll love my book, 101 Board Games to Play Before You Die. I look at the board games that we've loved, hated, and thrown across the room in a fit of rage. I'll tell you which classic games are not worth the time and emotional torment, and which games you should be playing instead, as well as giving you advice on how to make your dinner parties more tolerable and how to pimp your Scrabble. The perfect gift for your nerdy friend, it's available from 101boardgames.com. That's 101boardgames.com. Into the quarterfinals then. The first one. What a corker the first quarterfinal is. It's Brazil against France.
Oh, yes.
Careca scores for Brazil. Platini, on his 31st birthday, gets the equaliser. I don't know why the bell went off there. Sorry.
Oh, right, okay.
First player to score a goal on his birthday.
No, there have actually been a few. Brazil get a penalty and celebrate getting a penalty like they've won the World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Up steps Zico. Now, Zico, in his career, scored 97.8% of all the penalties he took, which is the third highest in history behind the Albanian striker Ledio Pano and...
Matt Letizia.
Yes, Matthew Letizia.
Yes, come on.
Mark Crosley, he was the only goalkeeper to save a Matt Letizia penalty.
So Brazil were pretty confident when Zico steps up, but Joel Bat saves it.
Yeah.
Did he bat it away?
He does?
He stopped him scoring a Joel goal. Joel Bats has got quite the backstory. In 1982, he had battled testicular cancer and won.
Good at saving balls.
In 1986, he wrote 2 volumes of poetry and then put it to music in the album Gardien de ta nuit, which means Keeper of Your Nights. He released 3 singles, L'escargot, a kid's song which sounds like I'm just making this up. A ballad called Soli Solitude. And a song called Même si je m'envole, Even If I Am Flying.
See, that all sounds quite sexy, doesn't it? Like a French goalkeeper could get away with that, but like in English, can you imagine?
Steve Grizovic trying to do a sonnet to you. What is that heavenly sound outside? It's Steve Grizovic. Get out from the bins, Grizovic.
You can imagine Joel Bats as the guardian of your night. It's quite sexy, isn't it? But Steve Grizovic, guardian of your night.
Yeah. No, I'm the night watchman, yes. Yeah. You scare off people.
In extra time, Carlos brings down Bruno Belloni in the penalty area, but nothing's given.
How is Bruno Belloni not an Italian international, by the way? Bruno Belloni.
And that is one of 2 controversial refereeing decisions in this game, isn't it?
Is it in the penalty shootout?
It's in the penalty shootout.
Okay, we'll get to that. Well, Brazil go at the other end, and Socrates basically has an open goal and he misses it. So the game goes to penalties. It's the second World Cup game to go to penalties, and they've both involved France so far. Platini, who'd already scored, he misses. He hits the ball over the bar in a wonderful foreshadowing of Roberto Baggio's penalty in 1994. Socrates has a penalty saved.
Socrates, the 2-step run-up, and what a good save by Joel Bats, who has now saved a penalty from Zico and one from Socrates.
And then Bruno Belloni steps up to take one for France. What happens, Paul?
It goes off the post, off the back of the keeper and in. And that, at the rules of the time, shouldn't be given, but it is given. So that's the other refereeing thing that was controversial in that game.
I can imagine that being one of those things, and in Match magazine, you are the ref.
Yeah, I think it just had never been clarified because they hadn't.
No.
Because it was if the ball moved away from the goal, it was considered dead, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it should have been, because obviously you can't go and take a rebound in a penalty shootout.
Yeah.
But they retrospectively changed the law to say that goal should have stood because it hits the back of the goalkeeper. No one's engineering.
You can't deliberately make that happen. So, yeah,
No.
it was considered controversial at the time.
Julio Cesar, who'd been named defender of the tournament, then hits the post, which means Luis Fernandez has the chance to win the game for France, and he does.
Fernandez! France are in the semi-final. 4-3 on penalties. What a great moment for the European champions.
It's always nice a penalty shootout in which a team I support is not involved. But when you're actually watching them at the time, they're horrible. They're absolutely horrible.
Can I just put it on record as well that I was very happy with this result because, there's that myth, isn't it, of World Cups of like everyone's second team is Brazil. Everyone loves Brazil. Can I just put it on record? I hate Brazil. Every time they get beat, I am very happy. When they got stuffed by Germany, I have never been happier. In their own country, in their own home stadium, the Samba shitheads of Brazil were stuffed out of existence. Take that, you yellow gits.
So edgy.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that clip of you saying, take that, you yellow gits, and have it when we're talking about South Korea. It's going to edit that in there.
I look forward to your incredibly lucrative cancellation tour.
Netflix special, here I come.
Should we talk about Michel Platini, the captain of France here?
Please do.
He was banned from football in 2015 for ethics violations.
There's a picture of him, and I don't know if it's fake or if it's real, but it's him and Maradona, and they're wearing special football shirts for like a one-off friendly. Platini says, say no to corruption, and Maradona says, say no to drugs. But I think that might be too perfect to be real.
Yeah, that sounds fake, doesn't it?
But it looks very real.
And that's what counts.
Yeah.
He won 3 consecutive Ballon d'Ors in the mid-80s. He co-organised the 1998 World Cup. As a teenager, he suffered from heart problems and breathing difficulties, but overcame them.
To be fair, didn't we all in our teenage years suffer from elevated heart rates and breathing difficulties and then overcame them?
By shouting Josimar, usually.
Yeah.
A bit of a prankster is old Platini.
Is it going to be our best ever prank from a World Cup player?
No,
Is it he took several $1 million and...
As a joke, guys. It was a joke. Do you not get it? Do you not get jokes?
He'd squeeze toothpaste into teammates' beds and pretend to be dead. He played 21 minutes of a game for another national team.
Platini?
Yep.
Is it going to be one of those weird countries that doesn't really count as official FIFA nominated ones like Saarland or...
No, they are an official FIFA country.
Martinique?
Is it a former French colony?
I don't think so.
Okay, Norway.
No. Kuwait. He played 21 minutes for Kuwait against the Soviet Union in 1988. He's named in the Panama Papers. Who would have thought? Bruno Belloni, of the controversial goal. In 1998, Radio France announced that he had died. He hadn't. He's still alive. He's 60.
That's not the first one we've had of this, is it?
I think that's the second. For some reason, at this game, Brazil-France, there's a bloke dressed as Charlie Chaplin amongst all the Brazil fans. They cut away to the crowd, and it's just a sea of yellow. And then one bloke dressed as Charlie Chaplin in the middle of it. I like to think that somewhere at a comedy festival, amongst a sea of Charlie Chaplin impersonators, there's someone dressed as Zico. Zico, who scored 101 free kicks in his career, nicknamed O Galinho, the Little Rooster. He only played for 3 club teams. Zico, do you know who they were?
Santos.
Nope.
Corinthians.
Nope.
Atletico Mineiro.
No.
I think I'm out of Brazil teams that I know.
He played for 1 in Brazil, 1 in Italy, and 1 in Japan.
Zico in Italy, was it Roma? No.
Nope.
But Udinese?
It was Udinese, yes.
Oh, wow.
He played for Flamengo, Udinese, and Kashimi Antlers, which spells out
Nice.
That's why I mentioned that.
I like to think he deliberately did that as well. He played for Motherwell's youth team.
Brazil's top scorer at this World Cup was...
Josimar.
Careca. He scored 5 goals in this World Cup. Careca is the Portuguese word for bald. Careca was not bald. But when he was a kid, he liked a clown who was called Careca, and that's how he got his nickname.
Ooh, weird. So he's essentially called Krusty.
Hey!
If I was Brazilian, my nickname would be Eddie Large. Also in the Brazil squad was Alemão, which is the Portuguese word for German, and he was called that because he looked a bit German.
I suppose this is where we're avoiding problems in the English game. The German.
Yeah.
And what was it? The other one? The Chinese.
And their substitute forward, Casagrande, who would later become a heroin addict. He's
His real name, rather than his nickname, is Big House.
And that's where you could end up if you were a heroin addict. And because we haven't really had one in this World Cup, I'll say that their other sub-striker, Edivaldo, died in a car accident in 1993.
I'm going to plot them on a graph to see when the most and least was.
Do you know what? I've been severely tempted to go back through Wikipedia and write a list of all the deaths of footballers by type, because I think the car accidents one is ridiculously overrepresented.
It's almost like they're young risk takers that have access to really powerful cars, isn't it?
Yeah. And until relatively recently, there weren't many safety features on cars. The second quarterfinal between West Germany and Mexico is the opposite in that it is really boring and finishes 0-0, and both teams have a man sent off and it goes to penalties. The third penalty shootout, evil Harold Schumacher saves 2 of the Mexican penalties, and so Germany win it 4-1, which is a weird score to win a penalty shootout by. Francisco Javier Cruz of Mexico, nicknamed El Abuelo.
The grandmother?
Grandfather.
Well, I don't know.
Grandmother would be a great nickname, wouldn't it?
He took the nickname to honour his grandfather. He's like, I want to be named after my grandfather, so I'll call myself grandfather. Didn't know his real name. In extra time, he has a goal disallowed for offside. He'd missed the 1994 World Cup because he injured himself scoring the goal that qualifies Mexico for the tournament.
Oh, how brutal.
Mexico are coached by Bora Milutinovic. It's the first of 5 consecutive World Cups where he coaches different countries, and for the first 4, he gets to the knockouts. He was nicknamed the Miracle Worker for that.
And once again, the tease for the quote that I will do in 1994, which James has told me I'm not allowed to do every time Bora Milutinovic is mentioned.
You can do him now because he's coaching Mexico in the quarterfinals.
So in the 94 World Cup, when he's...
All right, no, it's about the 94 World Cup.
Yeah.
Then we'll save it for them.
Save it for them.
In the Mexico squad, Pablo Larios Iwasaki, their goalkeeper, who's nicknamed El Arquero de la Selva.
Oh, no, that's too many words.
The goalkeeper of the jungle.
Oh, I like that.
Thomas Boy, their captain, nicknamed El Jefe.
The chief.
Self-confessed bohemian. He says his favourite book is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which it blatantly isn't. That's no one's favourite.
It's not. No, it's not. Lies and half-truths. That's the thing you say on a dating app to sound clever.
To sound terrifying.
Yeah.
The Art of War, really? Carlos Hermosillo, the forward, is nicknamed El Grandote de Cerro Azul.
Something of blue?
The big tall one from Cerro Azul. Carlos Munoz, nicknamed El Pierna Fuera.
The Pinafore?
The fiery penis?
The strong leg. Javier Hernandez Sr., Chicharito's dad.
That was a weird nickname to give him at the time. You're Chicharito's dad. Who?
And Hugo Sanchez, nicknamed Hugo.
Real Madrid legend.
The La Liga top scorer 5 times. Yeah, he's number 4 on the La Liga all-time goal scorer list after Messi, Ronaldo and Telma Zarra. What did he do when he scored?
Back flipper.
Why did he do that?
Because he could, and it looked
good. Why wouldn't you? If you can.
Yeah.
Gymnast was it when he was younger?
His sister was an Olympic gymnast, so he used to do it to rub her face in it. I don't know.
When she got an Olympic gold, did she boot someone's head?
Just took a penalty. He is a qualified dentist.
That's our first one of those. We've had loads of doctors, but that's our first dentist, I believe.
First qualified dentist. Right. The third quarterfinal, a little game between Argentina and England. Just 4 years after the Falklands War, a fact that was played down by the calm and measured British press.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing much happened in this match. Let's move on.
I also think it was probably played down by the calm and measured Argentinian press because they are also a similar level of tabloidy.
I remember this being a game that I was allowed to stay up to watch, being the first proper game that I was completely entranced by. The Argentinian shirts that they wear, the blue ones, they had been bought from a Mexico City shop a few days before the Uruguay game, with the badges sewn and numbers hurriedly ironed on because they didn't have an away kit.
Just had never had an away kit or had forgot to bring one.
I think they just didn't think they'd play anyone who wore light blue or white.
Yeah.
There were running battles between the two sets of fans that had ensued throughout Mexico City, and the first half is pretty dull.
Because we will come on to, the Argentinians were cheating. This was all out assault from the English players. This was not
with the midfield we had, like, and Terry Fenwick and Terry Butcher,
yeah,
and Reed and Steve Hodge.
Yeah, this was not controlled midfield, let's say that.
Can I just say, sorry, go back to the kits as well, with Argentina obviously having no away kit. Was this the first time England ever wore those like really weird pale blue shorts?
I blame the defeat on the pale blue shorts.
Yeah, they look wrong, don't they? They look so wrong.
We never do well. I don't like the fact that England have white shorts now. Dark blue, mate.
Shorts.
Proper.
Which I know makes no sense with our flag being white and red, but
we had first pick of the colours. We get to decide. So, 6 minutes into the second half, a miscued clearance from Steve Hodge, the first Aston Villa player to play for England at a World Cup, balloons into the England penalty area. A running Maradona, 5'4", jumps with Peter Shilton, 6 foot, and punches the ball into the goal.
And the goal is given. At what point was he offside, or was it a use of the hand that England are complaining about?
It's weird, isn't it? At the time, I remember just like everyone going nuts, and everyone blamed Maradona for being a cheat. And now you look back and you think, Peter Shilton, for God's sake, just jump a bit higher. Because Peter Shilton famously stretched himself as a kid, didn't he? He used to hang off the banisters or something and get his mum and dad to pull his legs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because he always wanted to be a goalkeeper. As I've got older, the blame for this has swung wildly from massively Maradona to begin with and now to Peter Shilton.
The people that we should be blaming are Ali bin Nasser of Tunisia and Bogdan Dochev of Bulgaria, who are the referee and linesman on that side.
Yeah.
And the problem was that they did not speak the same language or any of the same language. And what happened was bin Nasser was expecting Dochev to flag it, and then he looked at the ref and went, stayed absolutely still because he was going, well, call it. And then he went, well, you call it. Well, you call it. Well, you call it. And they didn't have enough language between them.
Wow.
And their telepathic instincts, they both thought it shouldn't be a goal, but they both assumed that the other one knew more about it.
Oh,
because
wow. I didn't know that. They both thought it was a foul and shouldn't be given, but because they didn't tell one another.
The referee didn't know, and the England players surrounded him going, there was a definite handball there. And Maradona said because the Argentinians went, did you just handball that? And he was like, if you don't celebrate, it'll look like we don't think it is, right? There's about 4 seconds where Argentinians are celebrating, and then they go, oh, yay, it was definitely But they obviously no TV at the game, no VAR or anything.
Poor old Bobby Robson, he was so upset as well.
And what you find out is because of basically a breakdown in bureaucratic protocol is the reason the goal's given, where both officials think that the goal shouldn't stand, but is assuming that the other one knows better.
The FIFA had told them before, if your colleague's in a better position, you respect their view. And then now the referee and the linesman hate each other. Every few years, someone will come and talk to them about the game and they will throw each other under the bus.
Ali bin Nasser never referees a World Cup match again. In 2015, he is visited by Diego Maradona, who gives him a signed shirt and calls him his eternal friend.
Because obviously now they have all the officials come from the same country, don't they?
Or they will have a common language.
Or a common language,
Tony and James, would you like to have a guess at the reason why the ref claimed that he missed the handball?
He was distracted by Peter Beardsley's handsome face.
Yeah.
Looking for Alan Ruff's contacts?
No, it was that a hemorrhoid treatment he'd been taking had affected his sight.
You're supposed to put it on your eyes, mate.
Yeah. He was using that incorrectly, wasn't he?
They're so painful, they'd burst out like cartoon wolves in a Tex Avery thing. Just,
At the press conference after the game, Maradona says that the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God, when in reality it was scored with neither of those things. It was scored by Maradona's hand and nothing else.
Peter Shilton's gross incompetence.
Anyway, 4 minutes later, Maradona picks up the ball just inside his own half and then in 10 seconds runs 60 yards, beating 2 Terrys and 3 Peters, and scores one of the greatest goals of all time. Yes, everyone he beats in that run is either called Peter or Terry.
Maradona turns like a little eel and comes away from trouble. Little squat man comes inside Butcher, leaves him for dead. Outside Fenwick leaves him for dead and puts the ball away. And that is why Maradona's the greatest player in the world.
Perfectly encapsulates the two sides of Maradona, doesn't it? It's almost like a cliche, really, stereotype.
Yeah. Does anyone else think that Terry Butcher gets the final touch?
We'll claim that for Ipswich.
There's a bit right at the start where Peter Reid is a yard off Maradona, and Maradona just puts on a spurt of pace, and Peter Reid just goes, no, that's not happening. He's gone. I'm not even chasing that.
Maradona said, I don't think I could have scored that goal against any other team because they all used to knock you down, but England are probably the noblest in the world.
God.
Which is funny because
what a creep trying to claw back some. Oh, that is just sickening. I just wish he'd just been more triumphant and just gone, beat the dirty English. No, just trying to be, he's smarmy. I've gone off him now.
Do you know who Hector Enrique is?
Hector Enrique, no.
He was playing for Argentina in this game. Do you know what he does?
No.
I mean, it wasn't really a thing at the time, but if that goal happened now, he gets the assist on that goal.
Nice.
Hector Enrique, who once said in an interview, well, my pass was so good, it would have been difficult for Maradona not to score.
Yep. You've got to hope that he's being a little bit tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. He absolutely is. Yeah, it's really funny. With 10 minutes to go, England get a free kick just outside the Argentina penalty area. Hoddle tries to play sort of a tricksy pass down the side of the wall to John Barnes on the wing, but the pass is blocked by...
Steve Hodge.
Nope. Ali bin Nasser, the referee, who was standing on the end of the Argentinian wall. Within a minute, though, John Barnes crosses. John Barnes, by the way, who's just become the first black player to play for England at a World Cup. He crosses it in, and Lineker heads consolation goal.
Yay.
His 6th goal of the tournament. And a few minutes later, in an almost identical move, somehow it doesn't go in. And I've tried to figure out I've watched that video so many times trying to figure out why that ball doesn't go in. I think the defender just gets a touch and it sort of hits the back of Lineker's head or something and it flies over the bar. And that's it, and England are out.
I remember just being so distraught after that as well.
The Argentinian press did literally say, this is revenge for the Falklands. We'll take that, which is...
Not how that works, but okay.
Yeah, well, it can't have been that important to you.
Which member of the 1986 England World Cup squad had finished 4th in the World Soccer Player of the Year in 1985? So I can tell you the top 3 were Michel Platini, Preben Elkjær, and Diego Maradona. And then a member of the England squad was 4th in that list.
I'm going to say... the QI big buzzer is obviously Gary Lineker, so I'm going to say John Barnes.
Yeah, well, this was 1985, so it's the year before this World Cup.
I said Hoddle?
No, it was Peter Reid.
Peter, wow. Everton were very good, yeah. Okay.
Cheer Up Peter Reid got to number 41 in the UK charts in 1996.
Peter Reid's got a monkey's head.
Peter Reid was the manager in the Soccer Aid one where Boris Johnson rugby tackled a child.
Good fact. Glenn Hoddle, of course, he goes on to manage England in 1998. When he was being interviewed for the position of manager, apparently the FA chief executive, Graham Kelly, asked him, are there any skeletons in your closet apart from that record you did with Chris Waddle? And in 2021, he was Grandfather Clock in The Masked Singer.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock.
Ray Wilkins went on to be a voice in some tango adverts.
Ralph, this could be a tango taste sensation.
that everyone thought was someone doing an impression, but it was actually him. Terry Fenwick was booked 3 times at the 1986 World Cup, which is an English record. There are 2 Gary Stevens in the squad.
That was so confusing as a kid.
Yeah. Gary M. Stevens and Gary A. Stevens.
Yeah.
Gary M. Stevens is the name that he wrote sci-fi under.
And then there was Trevor Stephen as well, just to add more confusion, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Gary Lineker. Couldn't move for Garys in the old days. Gary Bailey as well was the sub-goalkeeper, another Gary. In 2006, he got divorced and then wrote a book called Putting the Kids First. And then in 2010, he remarried Miss Universe.
I don't think anyone expected that fact to end that way.
Linking everything as I possibly can to Ipswich, Gary Bailey was the son of the Ipswich Division 1 winning goalkeeper Roy Bailey. And also Gary Bailey was in goal for Manchester United when Ipswich scored 6 against Manchester United at Portman Road, including 2 penalties that had to be retaken.
Steve Hodge of Aston Villa, he gets the assist for the hand of God. He swapped shirts with Maradona at the end of the game, much to the annoyance of all of his teammates. I think he's a horrendous turncoat and traitor. And in May 2022, he sold it at auction for £7.1 million.
Yeah, which would you prefer, having £7 million in your retirement, or would you prefer Terry Fenwick doesn't like you at the time?
I mean, it's a win-win.
The other thing about Steve Hodge is that apparently he kept the shirt all those years, and even when he took it to the auction place, it was in original 1980s Tesco carrier bag. So he just put it in his cupboard or something in a Tesco's carrier bag and hadn't even touched it for 30 years or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah, we're selling the shirt. That's 7.1 million. But an original 80s Tesco carrier bag gets sold at auction for £5,000.
We mentioned John Barnes. Who is he named after? A famous footballer.
Oh,
John Charles?
John Charles.
John Charles is the right answer. What? His dad had been the captain of the Jamaican football team, and John Barnes was born in Jamaica, and he got his British passport after the 1986 World Cup, so was possibly playing completely illegally.
Yay!
There was at least one other England player in that squad that wasn't born in England. Do you know who that was?
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you, Paul?
No.
Terry Butcher was born in Singapore.
Interesting.
John Barnes was the first male dancer to get a 10 on Strictly Come Dancing.
Yes, please.
And, of course, the Golden Boot winner, Gary Lineker. 6 goals, including a hat-trick. The first English Golden Boot winner. His middle name is...
Winston?
Yep. Do you know why?
Yes. Because Winston Churchill?
Why would he have Winston Churchill's first name as his middle name?
He was born on his Churchill's birthday?
Yes, that's right.
No way. Oh, amazing.
Way. Football is a simple game. 22 men chase a ball for 90 minutes, and at the end, the Germans win, he famously said. Has a play written about him, sort of. An Evening with Gary Lineker by Chris England and Arthur Smith. Once presented a match of the day in his underpants, which is not the worst thing he ever did in his underpants, as we shall find out in the next episode. He was best friends with...
Crisps?
He was best friends with Willie Thorne.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he is named in the Paradise Papers.
Oh.
The other quarterfinal, Spain-Belgium. It also goes to penalties after a 1-1 draw. Faf saves from Eloy, and Belgium are in the semi-finals. The semi-finals, a knackered France concede after 9 minutes against the West Germans after Joel Batz makes an uncharacteristic mistake, clearly thinking about his singing career. Bossis misses a sitter, and then Rudi Völler scores in the last minute to make sure, and Germany are in the final again. Against Belgium, after a goalless first half, Maradona turns on the style and scores twice. The second goal he scores is arguably as good as the one he scores against England.
Maradona going at them again. Brilliant run by Maradona. Fantastic goal. Unbelievable.
I don't think I've ever seen a player quite like that in football in my time.
Watching it back, I didn't realise how many of the Argentina goals are assists by Maradona. He doesn't get the credit for that. Like, he scored loads, but also made loads.
Assists really weren't a thing until fantasy football came along. In the first ever third place playoff to go to extra time, France beat Belgium 4-2.
They seem to actually care about this game, which is unusual for a third-place playoff.
It's their next-door neighbours, so they care. They are playing some of their squad players, though. Their sub-goalkeeper, Albert Rust, gets a game in the third-place playoff. He's the first French player to sound like a character in a Kinks song.
Killerman's absolutely has the look of someone who was in Britpop in the 90s.
Yeah, looks like the bass player in Menswear or something.
Breathe deeper, daydreamer.
The Belgian squad also included Hugo Bruce, who sounds like a Hugo Boss knockoff, but he's currently the coach of South Africa. And you know how I'm obsessed with sub-goalkeepers.
Yep.
So the Belgian sub-goalkeeper, Gilbert Bodart, in 2008 was arrested for being the inside man in a robbery at the Caves of Han, which is like a tourist attraction in Belgium, which is a bit like Wookey Hole in Britain. And then I was like, holy shit, Caves of Han, Wookey Hole, what is it with Star Wars and caves?
Yeah.
What were they stealing? Stalactite.
Yeah.
He was the inside man just walking out really pointy, and everyone was like, "You're right." He was like, "Yeah, fine."
Why are you wearing a wizard's hat today?
And the French squad featured Alain Giresse, who would go on to manage Georgia, Gabon, Mali twice, Senegal, Tunisia, and is now in charge of Kosovo. And their substitute striker, Daniel Zurieb, who I think is the first player at a World Cup whose surname begins with X.
Oh, nice.
I think. On to the final. There's a brilliant clip online of St. Greavesy and Brian Clough talking about the forthcoming World Cup final between Argentina and West Germany, and all saying, we don't want any of them to win.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the final every British patriot was looking for, was it, really?
No, it's not. Unfortunate. Yeah. Would have liked a side that we could have really come down from behind and kept our fingers crossed for.
Yeah. That was the overriding emotion throughout the country. Like, cannot both teams lose? Just like the two, like at the time, most hated teams for English fans.
So the tagline for Predator versus Alien, whoever wins will lose.
Yeah.
Of course, in Scotland, they're delighted. They're two favourite teams. So they're having a lovely time. So this is the first of 3 Argentina versus brackets West Germany finals.
I never watched this final. I refused to watch it. I remember I was not going to watch it because there were 2 hated teams. I didn't even know the score until I think the next day. And the only positive that came out of this was that Maradona didn't score in the final. So Gary Lineker won the Golden Boot.
I watched it and I remember it being a really good game.
It probably was.
Yeah,
3-2. It's 2 cracking football teams, but you know.
Yeah. From the highlights I've watched, it does seem like a good game. I was 2 at the time, so I wouldn't have been aware.
Teenage petulance. I was like, I'm not watching these 2 teams.
Jose Luis Brown, which always seemed like a weird surname for an Argentinian to have, but he heads a goal in the first half. He'd been a last-minute addition to the squad and was now keeping Daniel Passarella out of the team. In the last few minutes of the game, he dislocated his shoulder but refused to be substituted. 10 minutes into the second half, Valdano gets a second, and it looks like Argentina are heading for a pretty regulation victory, when with 15 minutes to go, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge scores from a corner, and then 5 minutes after that, also from a corner, Rudi Voller equalises. And it's like, oh, blimey, now West Germany are on a high, and it's going to go to extra time.
The momentum shift.
But within 3 minutes, Diego Maradona, with an incredibly telepathic through ball, sends Burruchaga through, who slots it past Schumacher, and Argentina are world champions for the second time in 3 World Cups.
Impressive stuff.
The last appearance at the World Cup of Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, 2-time Ballon d'Or winner. He scores 45 goals in 96 games for West Germany. In 1983, Alan and Denise record a tribute song about his sexy knees that gets to number 43 in the German charts, behind 42 songs by David Hasselhoff.
Talking about a man with sexy knees. Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. What a man.
Felix Magath is in midfield. He'd go on to manage Fulham. Felix Magath was nicknamed Saddam by his players because of his tough training techniques.
Didn't he infamously believe that cheese could heal injuries or something? Did the players have to put cheese on their injured limbs or something?
Sort of.
Right?
It was Breda Hangeland, the defender. He told him to rub cheese on his thigh injury.
because his name's Brie, he just assumed that he was he's made of cheese and was just like, add more cheese to it if you're made of cheese.
What actually happened was Hangeland had inflammation of the knee, and Felix Magath said he's got this sort of alternative treatment thing. One of its ingredients is quark, which is cheese. So, yeah, but that turned into, he wants to put cheese on our legs.
Crazy German.
He's half German, half Puerto Rican. Could have played for Colin Clark. Rudi Voller, the forwards, he was nicknamed Aunt Kathy.
Because of his hair.
I don't know why. I think so.
He does look a bit like an aunt, doesn't he? He's with his hair like that.
Content warning for this next one. Strap in, guys.
Yep.
Dietmar Jacobs, the centre-back. His career ended prematurely in 1989 in a game between Hamburg and Werder Bremen when an attacker lobbed the Hamburger goalkeeper and Jacobs lunges feet first into the goal to scrape the ball off the line. However, he fell onto the hooks fixing the goal to the ground and hung there for 20 minutes.
Oh!
The hook deeply embedded in his flesh.
Oh!
Finally, the team doctor cut the hooks from his back with a scalpel, but also cut the nerves in his back. So he was forced to end his career. However, he regards himself as lucky because the hook missed his spinal cord by 2 inches.
He's like football directed by Mel Gibson. So the hooks that held the net on, and he had them in his back.
Yep, and he was suspended by it.
Oh,
like as a warning to other defenders. Holy cow. In the Argentina squads, well, they were coached by Carlos Bilardo, who was nicknamed Al Narigón, basically means big nose. He was a medical doctor. He wasn't popular in Argentina. In fact, his tactics were criticised by President Alfonsín and Bilardo's own dad.
Sorry, you've got like one of the greatest players ever playing out of his skin, and you won the World Cup. Well, the president and your dad say you suck, so...
Jorge Valdano once said, football is made up of subjective feeling, of suggestion, and in that, Anfield is unbeatable. Put a stick with shit hanging from it in the middle of this passionate, crazy stadium, and there are people who will tell you it's a work of art. It's not. It's shit hanging from a stick.
What's brilliant is we've all thought the player that we are thinking of there, of just going, yep.
Burruchaga, who scores the winning goal, was given a suspended 6-month jail sentence for throwing a Liga game in 1993. Jose Luis Cuchifu, centre-back, died in 2004 after being shot on a hunting trip.
Oh, dear.
Where they hunt the deadliest prey of all, man.
They hunt footballers.
That's a surprisingly common thing with the cyclist Greg LeMond, who'd won 3 Tour de France's, Tours des France. His career was ended because he was shot on a hunting trip by his brother. They were turkey hunting and he got in the way.
And their captain, Diego Maradona. El Pibe de Oro, the golden boy. The first player to break the world record transfer fee twice. L'Equipe called him half angel, half devil. And if you haven't already, watch the Asif Kapadia documentary, Diego Maradona, because it's brilliant.
There's also a Facebook page, I think it might still exist, which was Diego Maradona dancing to a different song every day. Him in his 50s dancing with his mates. And then they just put over a load of different songs and all of them seem to work.
He released a single with the band Pimpinella called Querido Amiga, Dearest Friend. It is insipid as all hell.
Pesar de la distancia, aún conservo la fragancia de tu risa y tu alegría.
There is a statue of his second goal against England outside the Azteca.
I'm not surprised.
Time now to rate the 1986 World Cup to find out where it stands in our World Cup of World Cups leaderboard, currently being led still by 1966 England with 7.67. Your scores out of 10, please, starting with the host, Mexico.
They seem to get really good crowds, didn't they, for a lot of the games?
They'd come in at the last minute. They'd had a massive earthquake the year before, so they were up against it. Everyone sort of remembers it fondly, didn't they?
Yeah, the format's much better.
Never quite sure about the third place teams going through, but you're right, it does keep it interesting right to the last game.
The Hand of God is fairly controversial.
Well, you think the whole World Cup hinges on that?
Yep.
All right.
England would have won the World Cup without that. We were robbed.
Denmark and the Soviet Union both losing in the second round.
Denmark battering Uruguay 6-1. That's a shock.
Belgium getting to the semis. They finished third in their group.
Morocco winning the whole group. Fairly big shock.
Goal of the tournament. We all agree that it's
Maradona's. It's a 10.
Oh.
It's a 9 because it might have been a lone goal.
Yeah, if you dribble around anyone good, maybe a bit. Until 2018, this was the last good final.
There's a lot of goals, so it must have been pretty good. And Maradona didn't get any goals, so he didn't rob Gary Lineker of the Golden Boot. It's difficult to pick another team that was more worthy of winning it, isn't it?
And they are so much better than the Argentina team that won in 78.
They were a decent team, and then they had one player who was more or less able to drag them to the title. British involvement.
3 teams.
2 of them awful.
But one of them got to a quarter-final and probably should have got further.
Mexican waves.
Mexican wave.
Yeah. Jalapeno peppers.
Had the jalapeno made it to England before PK?
You couldn't get a banana in England then. It was like jalapeno. We thought apricots were exotic. I mean, Jesus.
Lineker scoring that hat-trick against Poland, by his own admission, said it changed his life. And would he be the host of TV shows now?
Would he be the face of crisps?
Would Walkers be being sold to us by Kerry Dixon?
One of the best theme tunes as well.
2 of the best theme tunes.
It's mad to think that this World Cup is only 6 years before the Premier League starts. Entertainment value, I've got some stats for you here. There were 2.54 goals per game, the lowest so far. 4 0-0s, 10 1-0s, but no dead rubbers. Now remember that the leaderboard was currently being led by England 1966 with a score of 7.67. I can reveal that the score for Mexico 1986 in the World Cup of World Cups leaderboard is 8.19.
Oh,
that's
a big jump.
That has smashed it. Smashed it, that has.
That feels too high. Kind of recency. I was going to say recency bias, but not that it's that recent, but it's more recent than 66.
So, yes, we have a new leader, and that's going to take some beating.
Was it just that it had a bit of everything? Because normally it falls down on like no shocks or no.
There was no really low scores, was there?
So we have a new leader, and it'll be interesting to see if any one of the World Cups after that can score as highly. We will find out, though, as the World Cup of World Cups continues. Before we go, though, a teaser for you all to think about until the next episode. So way back at the start of the World Cup, Alessandro Altobelli scored Italy's last goal in 1982 and their first goal in 1986. Right? He is the 8th of 22 players to have done this for various nations. And 21 times that has happened in consecutive World Cups. But once it didn't. There was a World Cup in between that the nation missed. So which player and which nation, please? So a player who scored their nation's last goal at a World Cup, then the nation didn't show up to a World Cup, and then the same player scored the first goal of the next World Cup. I'll give you the answer at the start of the next World Cup of World Cups podcast. When we'll be talking about an ageless dancer, a rapping winger, tears, spit, poo, salad cream, penalties, opera, and the return of the blindfolded Italian boy as we go back to Italy for the 1990 World Cup. Tony Cowards, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you?
Usually in the spare room here in Loughborough. But no, at Tony Cowards on Twitter. If you want to look, see what I'm up to, I usually put stuff on there.
And usually doing lots of your funny little puns, aren't you?
Yeah, it's funny little puns.
If you want to support us, you can go to ko-fi.com/World Cup of World Cups, and you can email us at worldcupofworldcups@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter at James E. Cook.
I'm on Twitter as @ComedySavage.
Until next time, this has been the World Cup of World Cup podcast. Adios.
Goodbye.